know immigration is one of the key issues in this race. One of the unknowns is what turnout in the election could look like. As of tonight, roughly 63 million Americans have already voted all across this country. In recent weeks, there have been questions about whether black voters would turn out for the Democratic nominee. In recent elections, black voters have overwhelmingly chosen the Democratic presidential candidate. You see the numbers there, dating back to President Obama. But earlier this month, a poll from the New York Times showed only 78% of black voters at the time said they would be supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. The head of the NAACP, Derrick Johnson, writing in an op-ed this week, quote, "Black men do vote, but does America listen?" Derrick Johnson, the head of the NAACP, joins us live here on the Hill. Thanks for being with us tonight. I appreciate your time, sir. Tell me what you meant there in the op-ed that you just published the other day.
Well, oftentimes we get to the election season and people try to mobilize the black vote to turn out without persuading them or talking about why it is in their interest. And in this moment, we cannot be seen as a community just for the transaction of an election. We must be courted in a way in which to show how the decisions we're making at the ballot box would impact the quality of our life and the public policies that will be adopted.
You say that voters need to be courted. I hear you there. I wonder what you're seeing in North Carolina and in Georgia, because turnout is low, Derrick, as you know, among black voters. North Carolina, 21% of the state is black. Only about 17.5% of the ballots that have been returned from black voters. Georgia, 32% of the state black, 26% only from black voters. Why do you think that's happening, Derrick? That turnout, at least at this point? I know there's still election day, obviously, but why do you think that's happening as of now?
This is the pattern in which how African Americans vote. You will have overwhelming turnout on election day. And in some of those very areas, if you look at the targeted precincts, there is a higher turnout, early voting. So it all varies from community to community based on the habits in which community vote. Some vote early, some vote on election day. But I can assure you for this election cycle, you will see an overall high African American turnout.
Okay. I wonder, sir, what you make of the comments that were made by former President Obama in Pennsylvania earlier this month. He was speaking to a group of black men and said this, and I want to get your reaction on the other side.
You're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you? Because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable.
He went on to say, part of it makes me think that you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. What did you make of the comments there from President Obama, and should he have said that?
Well, I'm more concerned with the Nazi-style rally that took place earlier this week in Madison Square Garden. I'm more concerned with Project 2025. I'm more concerned with
hold on one second. You think that was I just want to make sure. You think that was a Nazi-style rally in Madison Square Garden?
Oh, absolutely. If you know the history of this country in the mid-30s, when there was growing sympathy and admiration for Hitler in Germany in the midst of the New Deal policies, it was very similar when they got to Madison Square Garden and had a similar rally. Anytime you have that type of hate being spewed and targeted at communities, whether it's African American, Jewish, Puerto Rican community, Latino community, that is something that should not be acceptable. And so for the news coverage, I think it's more important to make sure that we promote conversations around civility and working together, and not divisive activity, or ignore the level of divisive activity.
What would you say? What would you say though to Donald Trump, who says we need, first off, to Republicans who say do not compare us to Nazis, just average Republican voters, and to Donald Trump, a Republican presidential candidate, who says stop comparing me to Hitler?
Well, unfortunately, in many ways, he should stop pretending to be like a Hitler or want to be a dictator or repeat or embrace those who we know are white supremacists. We are in a country that's the most diverse we've ever been. We should embrace our uniqueness and unify this country and not tear one another down because of the differences that people come to the table with.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.